Hi guys, welcome back to Anita Crochets. My name is Anita. Today I have this beautiful skirt. It's a tiered mesh flare skirt. I have worked a tutorial for the flare skirt without the tiers and without the flower, but now we are making this with the tiers. So this is how it came out and this is how it looks like. I'm going to be taking you through on how to achieve this, and also I have made a tutorial for this flower, so it's not going to be included in this tutorial because I didn't want to have a lengthy video. But yes, you can watch the flower video right when you need the flower, and then you can have this as your skirt tutorial. So let's get into it. And I'm starting to upload patterns onto my website. Please, if you can purchase from the website, because I have better payment options on the website rather than the Etsy shop, because on the Etsy my only option is PayPal. So you can try also purchasing from the website, and let's see how that works. So I'm going to be dropping the link for the website so it is easier for you guys. So let's step into what we need for this tutorial and then get started. Okay, first of all, I am working with this yarn. It's Robin 100% acrylic. It's 50 grams. I think you need about a ball and a half to make this skirt. I made a size small. The written pattern has sizes small, medium and large. And then the tutorial and written pattern for the top is also available on my online shops and my YouTube channel respectively. So let's get into this tutorial. I am going to be working with two hooks, a 3.5mm hook and a 4.5mm hook. And then all you need is a pair of scissors and probably a tape measure. I'm going to try to share measurements for both sizes, small, medium and large, but also I'm going to share adjustments that you can follow to achieve your preferred sizes, just in case, because we work with different yarn types, yarn weights, and we work with different tensions. So just to show you what you need to do, I'm going to be working with a 4mm hook, but I'm going to be explaining which hook size you need to use at which level and why. Okay, so this is almost half of my project complete, and you can see this is how it looks like. I worked with the honeycomb stitch. It kind of looks like the mesh, but yes, it's honeycomb. So up here I used the smaller hook, the 3.5mm hook, and then down here I used the bigger hook, the 4.5mm hook. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we can achieve this, and you can see that we have some bit of stretch and room for expansion just in case your hips are large. So let's get started on doing this, and then I will take you through on what hooks to use for what. Okay, let's get started. To start our project, we are going to be working with a 3.5mm hook. So we make a slip knot, insert our 3.5mm hook into the loop. Then we are going to chain 100 for size. Sorry. We are chaining in sets of 2 minus 1 at the end. So it had to be 100. So when we deduct that one chain at the end, it makes it 99. So size small, you're going to work 99 chains. Size medium, you will work 109 chains, and size large, you will work 119 chains. Now, if you want to adjust to your preferred sizes, I don't know what, you could just work any sets of 2 minus 1 chain at the end. Okay, now these chains should be in position to stretch out to go through your hips or your shoulders, whichever place or part of your body that you want to pass this skirt through to get to your waist. It should be in position to stretch out to get through that body part. Okay, so once you have that, you will get back to the very first chain stitch without twisting your cord, and insert your hook in there, then work a slip stitch. This is to close off our work, creating a ring. So that's how we work our foundation chains for the waistline of our skirt. So right here we work a slip stitch to close off our work. So you see what it looks like. Mine is slightly small because I already have half my work complete. This is just a small project to show you what to do, so don't mind the size. All right, So we are going to chain 2, which doesn't act as a stitch, and we are going to get into this very first stitch, and we shall work a double crochet. Then we shall work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way around, in every chain stitch all the way around until the end of the row. So size small should have 99 stitches at the end of the row. Sizes medium should have 109, and sizes large should have 119 stitches by the end of your row. Okay, so just keep working 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way around, and I'm going to meet you at the end to show you what to do. Okay. Here we are at the end of our row. This is how my work looks like. So I'm going to work a slip stitch into the second chain stitch of the 2 chains that started the row right there, so that I close off my work. Okay, now to work my next row, I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. Into the very first stitch, I'm going to work a double crochet. The chain 2 doesn't act as a stitch, it is just my turning chains. Okay, so work a double crochet. I'm just finding my way in there forcefully. Yeah, so we work a double crochet just like that, and then we work 1 double crochet into the next stitch, work a double crochet in the next, 1 double crochet into the next, and just continue working 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until you come to the end of your row. So even with this, you're going to work until the end right here, and then you will work a slip stitch into the second chain stitch that started the row. Then you do the very same thing for the next row, so that we have a total of 3 rows for the waistband that we want. And this is how your work should look like after you have 3 rows of just double crocheting. Yeah, so let's get started on the honeycomb mesh. First, I'm going to work 5 chains. I don't know why I'm getting out of my box. I literally wasn't even looking at my camera at this point. But yeah, I'm going to chain 5. 3 of the chains act as a double crochet, then a chain 2. Okay, so we skip the next stitch and work a double crochet into the next. Then we chain 2, skip 1, work a double crochet into that next stitch. Okay, chain 2, skip 1, work a double crochet in the next stitch, just like that. Chain 2, skip 1, work a double crochet in the next stitch. Guys, I'm just so glad that we still have a little bit that we can see. Sometimes I put my camera right and then it kind of like tilts at an angle that makes me look like I was out of my recording box. But yeah, at least I'm glad that there is a bit of it that we can see, and it's what makes sense. So what we are just going to keep doing at this point is just chaining 2 and skipping 1, then working a double crochet into the next stitch. So you're going to do this all the way around for all your stitches until you have 1 stitch to end the row. Okay, just work 2 chains, skip 1, work a double crochet into the next stitch. Guys, my daughter is always snoring. I think at this point most of you know, like, she's always making this sound. Okay, so yeah, we just do this all the way around, and I'm going to meet you once you have 1 stitch to end the row. That's where I'm going to meet you, then show you what to do. So yeah, we are right here, and like you can see, I have one stitch to end my row. So what I'll do is I'm going to yarn over and skip that stitch, get into the third chain stitch of the 5 chains that started the row. So insert your hook into that third chain stitch, pull through a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through all. Okay, so that's how, this is just to help me to get to the center of my arc and start from there. So for the next row, it's not any different from this one. So we start with a chain 5, which acts as a double crochet chain 2, and then we skip 2 and get into the next chain gap and work our double crochet in there. Chain 2 and skip 2, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. So you can see, oh, also I need to explain that when starting this row, you start it with a 4.5 millimeter hook. Guys, you start this row with a 4.5 millimeter hook. Okay, so now we chain 2 and skip 2, get into the next chain gap and work a double crochet. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap right there. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap. Okay, so you're just going to keep doing this. Chain 2, skip 2, working a double crochet into this next chain gap. All right, so do this all the way around until this last chain gap right here. That's where I'll meet you and then show you what to do. And here we are at that last chain gap. I've already worked my double crochet, so what is left is for me to close off my work, and I'm going to yarn over, skip those last 2 stitches, get into the third chain stitch of the 5 chains that started the row, pull through a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all the 2 loops on my hook. Okay, so that's how you end your row, and that's how you close off your row. So here, to start my next row, I am going to chain 5, turn my work. This is not any different from what we have just done previously. So the chain 5 acts as a double crochet chain 2, and we get into the next chain gap and work a double crochet just like that. So we chain 2, skip 2. I made a mistake, guys. Do not do like I did. Just make sure you're chaining 2 and skipping 2. And yeah, I realized my mistake. So yeah, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap. And this is what you are going to do all the way around until you come to the end of your row. And when you come to the very last chain gap, you make sure that you end your row in the manner that we have been ending our rows. You yarn over, skip the last 2 stitches and insert your hook into the third chain stitch of the 5 chains that started the row, and then pull through a loop and yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through all. Okay, so here we are. It's just me wanting to show you how to end your row once again so that you don't make any errors. So when you get to the very last chain gap, you yarn over, insert your hook into the third chain stitch of the 5 chains that started the row, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all. Then go through the entire process of chaining 5, which acts as a double crochet chain 2, and then turn your work, skip 2, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. And you just keep doing exactly what we have done for the previous step. You do this for the next, so far we have 3, this was the 4th row. So for sizes small, you can do this for the next 6 rows. And then sizes medium, you can do this for the next 8 rows. Sizes large, you can do this for the next 10 rows. But just to make adjustments, in case you want to make adjustments for yourself, make sure that you work this mesh all the way until it covers your bums, all the way slightly below your hips before we can start working the flare. Okay? But if you want something longer than that, then you can keep working the mesh, okay, all the way until where you want your flare to start from. Then you can now start doing what I'm about to do, because right now I'm about to start working my flare. I worked 10 rows in total for the mesh, okay? So you can choose to work whichever number of rows that you want, okay? For me, it was just enough length because I intended to have this as something like a little mini skirt. Yeah. So once you have achieved the length that you need for your fitted bit, we are now going to chain 5, which acts as a double crochet chain 2, just like that. And I'm going to turn my work. I already turned my work, so I'll get into this next chain gap and work a double crochet. Guys, this girl is making so much noise. So we chain 2 and skip 2, work a double crochet into that next stitch. So far these are 2 chain gaps that I've created. I intend to have 4. So we chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. Please guys be attentive because this is when the flare starts, okay? Those are 3 so far. Chain 2 and skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap. So those are 4. Okay, those are 4. Now in the 5th chain gap is where I want to work my increase. So we chain 2, okay, we chain 2. Make sure you chain 2 guys, don't make my errors. Yeah, chain 2 and skip 2, get into this 5th chain gap and work a double crochet, then chain 2 once again and work a double crochet into this very same chain gap. So we create a V stitch, okay? We have created a V stitch like you can see. Now I'm going to repeat the very same thing. I'm going to chain 2, skip 2. Okay, I'm skipping 2 and working a double crochet into that next chain gap right there. So when I work my double crochet, that is 1, chain 2, skip 2, work my double crochet, that is 2. All right, chain 2, skip 2, work my double crochet, that is 3. Chain 2, skip 2, that's so far 3. So chain 2, skip 2, this is 4. And that means the 5th is where I'm going to work my increase. So what we do is we chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap, and then chain 2, work another double crochet into that very same chain gap. So we create a V stitch into the 5th chain gap. Okay, every after 4 chain gaps we create a V stitch into the 5th chain gap. Okay, that's to work our increase, and this is what we are just going to keep following. I just need you guys to master this so that you know what to do even after I let you work the rows, the next rows on your own. So once again, we chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, that is 1. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap, that is 2. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, that is 3. All right, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap, that is 4. All right, 2, 3, 4. Now that means the next is where I'm working my V stitch or my increase. So we go ahead and work chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that chain gap right there. So we have your double crochet, and then we chain 2 and work another double crochet into that very same double crochet. So we have a V stitch. Okay, so once again you follow the very same thing. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap, that is 1. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap, that is 2. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, that is 4. Sorry, 3 is it? Yeah, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in that next chain gap, that is 4. So that means our next, which is the 5th, we are going to work a V stitch. So we chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap, and chain 2, work another double crochet into that very same chain gap. All right, so this is what you are going to do all the way around until you come to the end of your row. Okay, until you come to the end of your row right there. Just keep working that in that kind of manner until the very last chain gap right there. You can find the very last chain gap is where we have to work our V-stitch. So when you work it, then you have to make sure that you end our row in the manner that we have been ending our row, yarning over and then inserting your hook into the third chain stitch of the 5, then pulling through a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops to end your row. So this is how my row looks like at the end, and I am confident that you have also come to the end of your row as well. I'm just working this one last row with you guys, then I'll let you work the rest of the work on your own. So we are going to chain 5, which acts as a double crochet, chain 2, and turn our work. Now when you turn your work, you'll find that your very first spot is the V-stitch. Okay, now get into that very same V-stitch and work a V-stitch. Okay, work a V-stitch. So you work a double crochet in there, chain 2, work another double crochet in there. If when you turn your work and you find that you don't start with a V-stitch, it's also okay. Just work your honeycomb mesh stitch all the way until you get to the next V-stitch, and make sure you work a V-stitch into that V-stitch. I hope I am clear, guys. There is no math, there is no science. Just make sure that into every V-stitch you work a V-stitch. Okay, so we are going to chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap. You will find that on this row we are working our V-stitch every after 5 chain gaps, so the number keeps increasing because we are working increments. Okay, so chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into the next chain gap, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap. As you can see, this is where I am, and it is just working your honeycomb, chain 2, skip 2, until you get to the next V-stitch. So for me, I am about to get there, so this is how it looks like. Right there is the V-stitch, and I told you into every V-stitch we work a V-stitch. So we chain 2 and get into that V-stitch right there, work our double crochet, and then chain 2, work a double crochet once again into that very same V-stitch, so that we also create a V-stitch. Okay, you see that? All right, so this is what you just have to keep doing. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap. Like I said, on this row you're going to find that our V-stitch comes every after 5 chain gaps. On the previous row it was every after 4 chain gaps. Okay, so chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. Those are 2. All right, we're just making sure that we are looking up to the next V-stitch. Okay, so we chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in that next chain gap. Okay, so our V-stitch is around the corner. Chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap. So the next is the V-stitch, and we do the very same thing. Like you can see, we chain 2, skip 2, get into that V-stitch right there and work a V-stitch. So we work our double crochet and then chain 2, work another double crochet into that very same chain gap. So that's what we do, and that's what you're going to keep doing for the next rows. Just make sure that for every V-stitch you work a V-stitch. So go all the way around until the end of your row right there. You already know how to end your row. Okay, once you end your row, you repeat exactly what we have done, working a V-stitch into every V-stitch, okay, for the next 6 rows, so that we have a total of 8 rows for the flare. Okay, you can choose to work more rows for your flare, but remember, if you work so many rows it's going to fall to make ruffles. Yet I just wanted this to be a flare skirt, not a ruffled skirt. So once you have finished working all 8 rows for your flare, this is how it has to look like so far. So now I am going to be adding a tier on top of my skirt so that I have 2 tiers of the flare. So what we are going to do is we are going to count the mesh rows from top towards the bottom. I've counted 6 and I want to add my flare onto the 6th or at the bottom of this 7th. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've counted 7 and I've gotten to the top, to that bottom, you know, the bottom of that 7th row. And what you do is you're going to find your back. Remember where you were ending your rows from, right there. You can see that it's visible at the back. So if you're working sizes small, I'm going to take the 7th row. It's from the 7th row that I'm going to actually work my tier. And then for sizes medium, I advise you take the 9th. And no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, sizes medium, we take the 9th row to add our tier. We add our tier on the 9th row. Then sizes large, we add our tier onto the 11th row. Okay. So yeah. No. Let's do the 7th row for sizes small, and then 8th row for sizes medium, and 9th row for sizes large. So we are going to get to the back and just find this point where my double crochet stitch, into the double crochet stitch of the 7th, 8th, 9th row, whichever row that you're working for, whichever size that you're working. Into that double crochet stitch is where we are going to insert our hook, pull through our loop, and work 5 chains. Okay, so the 5 chains are going to act as a double crochet, chain 2. All right, now what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to turn my work. Yeah, I'm just trying to turn my work so that I work towards my left. Yeah, because I want this to be worked on the outside, not on the in out. Okay, because when you work it on the in out, your flare is going to want to turn upwards instead of facing down. I hope this is clear. I always try to explain this when I'm working ruffles, but yeah, I hope this time it's clear. So we get into the next double crochet stitch. Okay, we skip 2 and get into the next double crochet stitch and work a double crochet. So we skip 2 and chain 2, then work a double crochet into that next double crochet. Guys, remember we are having double crochets in between those chain gaps, so I'm trying to put that double crochet stitch aside, okay, and working into the double crochet stitch of the 7th row that I am working into. Okay, you see that? So we chain 2, you push that double crochet for the 8th row to the side and work into the double crochet of the 7th row. You see that? So it's going to flare to face downwards. If you work on the opposite side, going to the other end, to the east, you're going to find that your work is going to want to turn up. Yet we want the flares to all face down. Okay. So this is how it looks like so far. I hope it is very visible to your eye, because I don't want you guys to have made this skirt and then get lost on the final bit of it. So yeah, here I am going to just keep chaining 2 and skipping 2 and working into the next double crochet stitch of the 7th row right there. So you work your double crochet in there like that, chain 2, you skip 2, okay, and work your double crochet into that next stitch, chain 2. I'm just trying to fold my work so that it is easier for me to find my next double crochet stitch. Swipe that double crochet to the side and work into the next double crochet stitch, chain 2 and skip here, get into the next double crochet stitch and work a double crochet. So this is what you're going to do all the way around, and I'm going to let you go all the way around on your own, okay? Then I'm going to meet you at the end of the row, all right here at this last double crochet. Okay, I'm just going to get back to show you how to end your row. Okay, so here we are. I have finished working my first row of my tier, and if you remember how we end our row right here, it is just the yarn over, insert your hook into the third chain stitch of the 5 chains that started the row, pull through our loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through 2. So that's how you end your row. It's not any different. So to work the next row, I am just working one row with you guys because everything we did for the flare is exactly what we are going to do even this time. So what we are going to do from here, okay, you can see I'm at the center of my chain gap. So I'm going to chain 5. I'll turn my work, all right. Now I am going to get into this next chain gap and work a double crochet. So that means we skip 2, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap. So these are 2. At this point I am going to start working my increment just like we did for our flare previously. So like if you remember how we did our flare, it was working a V-stitch every after 4 chain gaps. So we have 2 so far, so we chain 2 and skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain stitch, in the next chain gap, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap. So that means this is the 5th. So what we do is we chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in there, then chain 2, work another double crochet into that very same stitch, right? This is exactly what we did for our flare, guys. If you remember, honestly, it's not any different, okay? The only thing I think that was about this tier was how to start it and all of that, but everything else for the flare is going to remain the same. So even here we are going to chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap. That is 1, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet into that next chain gap. That is 2, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap. That is 3, chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in the next chain gap. That is 4, and then this is the 5th. So that means we chain 2, skip 2, work a double crochet in there, and then chain 2 once again and work another double crochet into this very same stitch. So this creates a V-stitch for our increase, and this is exactly what we are just going to keep doing all the way around until we come to the end of our row. And once we are at the end of our row, we literally just have to chain to yarn over and get into the third chain stitch from the hook and work and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through all. That's how you end your row. And then you're just going to continue doing exactly this. So that means the next row after this you'll be working a V-stitch every after 5 chain gaps, and the row after that you'll be working a V-stitch every after 6 chain gaps. So it's clearly what we did here. If you can see, we have a V-stitch in this V-stitch, in that V-stitch, in that V-stitch, and it goes all the way down. So you do this all the way until you have 8 rows. At the end of my work, I worked just a few, a row of just chain 3, skip 2, work a single crochet in the next stitch. That's how I ended my very last row on the skirt, not to leave just the mesh stitch going on. So you're just going to repeat working your V-stitch increases. After you have worked all your V-stitch increases for a total of 7 rows for this tier, you are going to watch my tutorial for this flower. It is just below this video. After you watch how to make this flower, and after you have finished making your flower, you will get it and pin it anywhere that you want on your skirt. I just pinned mine right there because I wanted to get over this tutorial. I was running out of time. It was kind of getting dark. But yeah, once you pin it right there, you're just going to hand sew it onto your skirt. This is optional really, but yeah, this is how your skirt should turn out. This is how it should look like. Thank you so much guys for watching. I love you all. The written pattern is on my online shops or my website. Let me see you all in the next tutorial, and goodbye y'all.